So, Ben, we're living through another government shutdown. We're recording this about 30 minutes before 9 o'clock our time, 12 a.m. Eastern, but it looks like the government is going to be shut down. So I'm going to say it. The government is effectively shut down. The last time this happened was, I believe, end of 2018, December, until early January, about 35 days. That was the Trump shutdown at that point.
Is that the
What
one
the hell
with
is
the
happening?
famous Oval Office meeting between Nancy Pelosi and
Yes.
Chuck Schumer?
Where,
Oh, that is
where
legendary.
Pelosi was the alpha and Chuck Schumer was just looking
We
like
better
this.
get that
Just,
again. We should watch that clip.
that was pretty
Uh,
funny.
I gotta say, and this will fit with everything we talk about later, I don't think Hakeem Jeffries will pull off quite what Pelosi pulled off in that
No,
meeting.
I think a
Not
lot of
quite the
people are
alpha
missing.
energy.
A lot of people are missing Pelosi right now, which is something to say. But yeah, I mean, today the House Democrats were at the House. They were ready to negotiate. Republicans, looks like all of
You're
them, but like
frozen on
maybe a
my end.
couple, had already gone on vacation. They had, just for our viewers to know, House Republicans passed a continuing resolution, which is basically something you pass just to get the government funded for like a couple days, couple months, whatever it is, until you can actually agree on a budget. Our Congress has gone pretty adjusted to just passing continued resolutions over and over and over again. So they had passed one of those to fund the government. I believe it was until like November, if I'm not mistaken. And Senate voted on that a couple hours ago, I think 2 hours ago. It failed to get the 60 votes it needed to pass cloture. So we're going to be in a government shutdown. Democrats had spoken to President Trump. I believe yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic House leader, and the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer met with President Trump, J.D. Vance, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, and I think John Thune, right? Is that his name? John Thune, the Senate Republican
Yeah.
leader, the majority leader. They had all met and couldn't agree on anything. House Democrats are pretty adamant on getting those Obamacare subsidies. So money that helps, decrease premiums for about 20 million Americans. They want to extend those. Those are set to expire, I believe, by the end of this year. So House Democrats
I
really
thought they
want to
wanted
extend
to.
those,
I was
and they
told
want to
by our vice
reverse.
president. I don't know if you know. I was told by our vice president it's not about the ACA subsidies. It's about transgender surgery to Peruvians
Yes.
in Peru, which I don't know why Democrats are so held in on that, but I don't know. I heard it was that, and
Yeah.
then healthcare for all illegal immigrants. So, are you telling me that like isn't our current policy? And
So as much as President Trump and J.D. Vance want to spout those lies out, what Democrats are fighting for are to extend those Obamacare subsidies and reverse some of the Medicaid cuts that are going to affect American citizens. So as much as they try to, throw shit on the wall and just say, oh, it's for the undocumented people, it's for whatever trans surgeries in Peru, House Democrats are out there. They're making that case, right? I particularly don't like government shutdowns. I didn't like them when Republicans did them. I don't know how I feel about this one, but I do understand that, and I do agree that Democrats need to fight on this, and they need to get something in return. It just feels like Trump has just been dominating policy. And to be fair, they have the White House, and Senate, so it makes sense. Elections do have consequences. But how do you feel about the Democrats' tactic here? Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? I think I agree with it, but I don't like government shutdowns. A lot of losers. And I'm talking about just workers that are going to be furloughed. And Trump administration could very much just use this to fire even more workers. Some people might say that they're
that's an
already
important
doing it.
element.
So what's the difference?
That's what Trump's threatening, and I think that's important to know. Is Trump is threatening that his budget person, I forget his name, the Project 2025 guy, is going to use this to kind of expand the Doge cuts, expand the Supreme Court's apparent authority that they've granted him to just kind of rescind any funds that have been passed by Congress. So he's threatening that if it does shut down, that will provide him with more emergency powers to do that and take away more things that we want. But yeah, I think I have pretty similar opinions to you on this. I'm pretty mixed on it. I think I understand the inclination for Democrats to do something to fight, to say we're not funding this government with the censorship, with the sending people to El Salvador with no due process. Like, it makes sense to try to stand up when it seems like there's no way to stand up. But I do wonder what the actual end goal is here beyond those ACA subsidies. Like, what exactly is the best case scenario here? Because part of me does agree with what you said about elections have consequences. And there's a famous anecdote during the Obama 2012 run when you would tell voters things that were directly on the platform of the Republican Party or Mitt Romney, and they wouldn't believe you. They believed it was too extreme. No one would run on that. It'd be too unpopular for them to implement. And so people thought it was a lie from campaigning. And I think part of that is that Democrats do always have to be the adults in the room and like try to avert this disaster of like significantly raising premiums for millions of Americans and Medicaid cuts. And so I get the kind of altruistic intentions of it, but I wonder if politically, like, this is what the Republican Party wants to do. And yes, it's unpopular. And I get the idea of like raising the salience of it by shutting the government down over it and letting people know that Republicans are trying to take away these Medicaid cuts. But we can get into this. I feel like we're in such a post-truth era that it doesn't really matter, because what Trump's talking about is Democrats shutting down the government for trans healthcare and for giving immigrants free healthcare while the rest of us have to pay or whatever. So it almost doesn't matter, and it's not like politics of old school where this actually will get people to know what Republicans are doing. So I don't know. What do you expand a little more on your mixed
great
feelings?
Point. And I think at the end of the day, the American people are the losers. Like, just honestly speaking, I mean, social services might be slowed down. I think overall it's an unfortunate event. But the one question I have is like, where the hell are the Democrats? Like, I don't see them on the news talking about the shutdown as much. Like, I know Bernie held a live stream. Like, God bless his heart, he held a live stream with like Elizabeth Warren and some other senators, and they were sitting there and talking about it. But it's like, where's AOC? Where are all the Democrats just blasting the airways and talking about the effects of a shutdown and what the Trump team and the White House wants to do with healthcare? I'm just not seeing that message apparatus out there. And I would say I'm pretty online. I don't see it. I mean, fuck, I was like a little kid. I was like just getting into politics when Republicans would shut down the government, but Trump was out there like talking about it 24/7, saying Democrats want, illegal border crossings. They don't want to give me my wall. And this was December of 2018. So I don't see the coherent message by the Democrats. That's why I question the strategy. Is like, people don't even know what you're fighting for in the first place.
It's not blowing up, but I also think that's part of the problem with having such a tangible ask. Is like, that is a positive thing in a sense, to say like, we will fund the government if you give us this one legislative thing that is popular. But it's also not the sexiest issue that like is gonna blow up on all the algorithms and or like get picked up by the news media, as much as like, I don't know if there was a real way to do this, but if they were framing it more in terms of, we're not funding a government that's doing XYZ, that's more of a sexy issue, the censorship, the
sending the National Guard in without the governor's
openly
approval,
openly going after political enemies in probably the most blatant possible way he could. So like, those things I think that's part of the problem too, is Trump is doing all these things during this news cycle, like indicting James Comey, all of these, the instructions to fire the prosecutor unless they are willing to indict Tisha James, like all of these things are happening at the same time. And it's almost like, I feel like a lot of the anti-Trump energy is focused in those areas and not enough on something that's kind of boring, like a Medicaid legislation point within the bill that like actually does affect the lives of 20 million Americans. But I don't think that's as easy to like have blow up.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree with that. I think it's just not a sexy issue, but it's an issue that matters a lot.
Absolutely.
And you kind of sent me a clip earlier today about kind of Nancy Pelosi's reaction to this, and she was actually repeating Donald Trump's words in that meeting. So I just want to play that real quick. I want to show what
it was
the former Speaker of the House said.
A press statement that the Trump administration sent out, like saying that Trump had looked at the Democrats' demands, and well, you'll see.
I hear what they're saying. It's all unserious and ridiculous. In fact, I've listened to their and I tell them to go themselves. So that's I can't believe I use that word. My kids will be shocked. My grandchildren will be further shocked. I'm just quoting the President of the United States. And so I think the leverage springs not from any shared values with him, if that's what he thinks healthcare is about. And yourself.
I think the ending is my favorite part.
I didn't even see the ending. That's hilarious.
She just repeats it.
Yeah,
the ending is the best part. I think if that's what he thinks healthcare is about.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what a lot of Democrats are wishing for right now, is a little more of the, at least what they saw as like like fierce resistance back when Pelosi was the speaker, or the Democratic leader. But yeah, I think it's a tough spot the Democrats find them in, but I do think, yeah, you're right. Like they do need to have more of a kind of combined effort on message to fight back and make this not be seen as a Democrat shutdown, which I do think we've seen some polling the last few days that a lot of people are like, I think it was something near 60% against. The poll probably didn't frame it the most favorable way, but they were against Democrats shutting down the government to secure ACA or whatever. But yeah, I think ultimately for me, like, all of this is a little bit of a political calculation because I kind of don't see Trump backing down on it. Maybe he will. And if we're making political calculations about this, it's a little mean, but I do think that Republicans doing this will be unpopular and people will see the results of what Republicans want to do, and that will be more likely to save democracy and save us from this administration when it helps us win in the midterms and actually have real power to control legislation by controlling some part of the government, which we do not.
Yeah, and I think everyone's just hypocrites on this. I think like the left, the right, there's just so much hypocrisy to go around. I think the right has more hypocrisy when it comes to this, because JD Vance had like a tweet last year, the year before, saying, hey, we should use like a looming shutdown as leverage. Like we can use this as leverage. Now he's like, the fact that they want to use this as leverage for some policy differences is like, dude, everyone just shut up. Like we pay you to go do your job. I think it is pretty ironic that Congress people get paid during a government shutdown, but like TSA workers don't. Yeah. I'm like, how did that get slipped in there?
Yeah, and like really what it comes down to is this is actually a debate about the filibuster. If we get down deeper into it, the only reason Democrats even have the power to shut down the government or force concessions on this funding bill is because even though we don't control a branch of government, you need 60 votes in the Senate currently. So you need at least, what is it, 6 Democrats, 7? I don't even know what the Senate numbers are right now. But yeah, so I do think it's interesting to see if it ends up like forcing Republicans to kind of make some more carved outs to the filibuster potentially. But yeah, in an ideal world, I would like election stuff consequences.
It'd be nice if they did it.
I think it would be okay if I would like it if they got rid of the filibuster. I would not like what they did with that in the short term, but I do think that would make for a better, more functioning political system in the country. So hopefully that is what they're forced to do if Democrats hold the line.
And just something that I want to just bring up before we head off is, why don't we just have a system where, we can't agree on a budget, just let there be a continued resolution automatically. Like let there just be funding of X department automatically. I think Rand Paul was the senator who kind of brought this up. He was like, hey, like if we can't agree on a deal, like funding shouldn't just be cut. Like it should continue for like an amount of months or amount of days or whatever it is until we can reach a deal. So like it's a self-inflicted wound again. I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
We've lived through like so many of these now. So
I think that's an interesting point, and it makes me think about the debt ceiling. And I think these things are pretty tied together, where it's kind of like a last resort, like weapon to use in the minority when you don't control government. And it's not a great look to completely, although I don't think this one would be a bad look. I think that would be an easy thing to sell to the public, what you're talking about. But when it comes to the debt ceiling, every few years, it ends up getting pushed back by a few months or a few years or whatever. And nobody wants to permanently abolish it because they think it would be a bad news story. But really, it's just whoever's in the minority when it comes up starts to make a lot of demands, knowing that it's kind of a kill switch button. So I think it would probably be better for the health of our democracy in general if both of these things were gone and we just kind of had less dire circumstances that people can hold a gun over someone's head over. But yeah, this is where we are. And Republicans are, again, as much as we're getting in the inside baseball, Republicans are, in a sense, refusing to fund the government and all the employees of the government because they refuse to keep healthcare affordable for working people. And that, we can talk about how Democrats need to get that message out more, but ultimately, like, that says a lot about the Republican Party, and it would not be very hard for them to back down on this. I don't think they'd be seen as like losers. It's not like a core issue that they have. Like, if they would just be willing to cave on this very popular thing that helps millions of people, we would have a functioning government. So not great.
Yeah. And just real quick before to end this, it would help them politically. Like if you are the party in power and healthcare premiums for 20 million people go up all of a sudden, like an insane amount a month, you are going to be blamed for that. So just want to end that there. Great discussion on that.